you accept this ontology, you really will see a different world, and you will be able to differently manage in that world. An ontology which is based on the autopoietic qualities of any biological system, including humans, is described over there and allows you to see completely other things in life. Right? Now I go to Rupert Sheldrake. As I said, Rupert Sheldrake, what does he say? What he basically says, what Varela also said, is that everything you are today, you are within a context and you are within a history. You are here thanks to a history. A history of you, a history of your parents, of your ancestors, etc. Now what Sheldrake says is that what is the structuring thing? What is what structures something that you can recognize it? He says what structures what you can recognize is a morphogenetic field. You do not have knowledge. Knowledge is something which is created by resonance, what Varela suggested, by morphogenetic resonance. And what is morphogenetic resonance? Morphogenetic resonance is something which is created while doing. So they try to go to kinds of models, right? They try to structure. The structuring idea is very clear. And where those things are attracted, that is what he calls attractors. And that's again the same attractors than what we've seen in mathematical complexity, as I've called it. Right? It is the fact that the system seems to stabilize, to structure, to organize, to stay a little bit calm around a certain value in mathematics, around a certain form in morphogenetic fields. Right? So the whole thing for him is what we see for the moment is only an attractor. It might move again on. It might go to another attractor. Right? That's his idea. The idea of holons is a very important one. A holon is that everything is constructed of a set of individual interacting elements, but all those individual interacting elements in themselves are also a set of interacting elements. Right? So a holistic system, a systemic system, an integrated system consists out of a number of subsystems. Each subsystem consists out of a number of subsystems. And the mechanics of the holistic system is the interaction of all elements in all kinds of subsystems that in themselves cooperate with other subsystems, etc. Right? So a holistic systemic system has a hierarchy of holons. Right? There's a hierarchy of, in itself, all holistic systems. Now, a morphic field is something which is based out of interaction of elements, is created out of interaction of elements, and is created out of a history. If you go to a company, companies can have a morphic field, which is created by morphic resonance. Morphic resonance is what happens when all people work together at the realization of a kind of a vision. And you have many examples of companies that are successful since there is a shared, but a real shared vision. There's not necessarily a lot of control, there's not necessarily a lot of procedures, there is a clearly shared vision. And people interact a lot into the creation of that vision. Such a vision could be called a morphogenetic field and can be caused by morphic resonance. Now, it all has to do with memory, as I said, and that memory is cumulative. It is also dying out. If a trick is not done anymore, the capacity to do that trick will decrease and decrease. By the way, the theory of morphogenetic fields is the only theory that explains why at certain periods in history discoveries were made at two different parts of the world that did not communicate with each other. As you know, main discoveries in history have been made at the same moment, at roughly the same moment, at almost opposed places in the world. There is no theory that can explain that, except morphogenetic fields. Since what the theory of morphogenetic fields says is, it is not you who are smart, it is the one that uses the morphogenetic field that shows intelligence. It's a very exciting theory. The reason I talk to you about it once, it's exciting. Secondly, it clearly builds further on the biological concepts of complexity. The last step I'd like to take there is just bring you up level as a preparation for next time talking about artificial intelligence and computer science, about the paradigm of mind. Right? In the paradigm of mind, we've learned a lot about how the mind functions once we started to create artificial minds. And once we started to create artificial intelligence, right? There are many ongoing questions which are basically ontological choices. The one is the mind and soul question. What is the relationship between the mind and the soul? Some people refuse to talk about the soul since it's too hybrid. But you have it. Now you can ignore it, as I say, you can ignore 85% of what you're doing, why not? But you can also try to understand it. The mind-brain idea, right? The mind as a computer, I refer to what Varela said. There is still a persisting ontology that says that our brain is nothing more than a computer, and a computer that processes just like a Turing machine. There are other theories, right? There are other theories that talk about mental causation. Right? Which says either you can go from physical to mental, you burn your fingers and that gives you a mental. It learns you that you shouldn't put your fingers on a hot plate. Another route to take is from mental to physical, typewriting. Somebody who can really typewrite doesn't look to his keyboard anymore. So this is all happening there, so you don't control your fingers, it's the mental that controls the physics. You have to watch somebody who's really well trained in typewriting. It's strange. Finally, mental to mental. And mental to mental is our thinking. But our thinking is all interpretation. Right? When I get to quantum interpretation, and I think I said that when I showed you the picture of that motorbike, on your cortex, the picture, my picture, is not on your cortex right now. You do not see me, you imagine me. If you really watch, if you could watch your cortex, you would see a number of dots. And what you're all doing is you're interpreting these dots, and you think that you see me. For your information, you all see me different. Since you all interpret me different. And that is very important if you talk mental to mental, right? It's all about interpretation. There is nothing real in there anymore. Even your observation, your visual observation, right? The dots that are projected on your cortex are not the picture that afterwards you imagine. The emerging paradigm of mind that Franklin has described, that he didn't discover, but he described it. He gives mind the big quality, the big strength to be able to produce the next action. So what mind does is not recall things, what mind does is really go and create the next action. So it's an active thing. Mind is something that creates. Mind is a central structure of an autonomous agent. So we are all autonomous agents. We decide what we do in interaction to each other, in interaction with the environment. It is the mind that is the controlling structure of that autonomous agent. And that refers to the theories we've seen before of Varela. Structure is determined by evolution or design. The whole concept of biology and complexity is very much based on the ideas of things progress. Things just don't happen like that. Things happen today since other things happened yesterday, and in a way they cause, and I make clearly difference between cause and effect, causality, but they progress, they change all the time, and that's how things move.